Thank you so much, Mr. Rishabh Khanna, for this wonderful presentation. We will now start the panel discussion, which will be moderated by Mr. Rishabh Khanna. I call our 6 esteemed panelists to the dais now. We have Professor Utpal Sharma, University Scientific Instrumentation Center, Guwahati University. Professor Sharma, can we have you here? I request Dr. Dulumani Das and Sauravi to kindly felicitate our panelists. Next, we have Mr. M.K. Mohanta. He is the principal of Pragjyotish College, and he is from the Department of Physics. We have Ms. Moshmi Mohanta, principal, Maria's Public School, Guwahati. Please, can we have you on stage? Mr. Ghanashyam Medhi, the principal of Hom Jatiyo Bidyalaya. Dr. Torali Pathak, Assistant Professor, Department of Education, Cotton University. And Ms. Prabha Dastidar, she is the former principal, Army Public School. Ma'am. We welcome you, our dear panelists, to this occasion. Okay. Mr. Rishabh Khanna, may I hand over to you now?
We have one more chair for me somewhere. I don't know how will we put that. Let's put it that side maybe. Yeah. So before we start, I would request, I would like to take some basic feedback from all the panel members. Would you be comfortable in coming up here and speaking, or there? Here? Better? Great. So then what we'll do is we'll play musical chairs. So every time somebody comes, I'll sit in your chair. Then once you complete, I'll come back. And it's okay. Let's make it fun. Let's make it fun. So welcome back, everybody. We are now going to initiate a panel discussion on NPST. What we had done was we requested all the esteemed panel members to go through the entire document and select a particular theme out of the NPST document where they would like to share their thoughts about. So I'll be requesting and inviting all the members one by one to the dais. Once they've all shared their thoughts, I have a couple of questions that I would like to ask them and take their feedback on. And then we will also open up the questions for the audience, and I'll collect the questions and then I'll ask to the esteemed panel members. So to begin with, can I please request all of you to put your hands together for all the panel members? They've taken out time, come here to make this event a success. So I will now start with Professor Utpal Sarma from Guwahati University. Sir, I request you to please come and share your thoughts.
Is it ready, the presentation? I believe laptop. It cannot be connected this laptop there. So please.
So by the time the presentation comes up,
Okay, I can start.
right? So, we had this one small request that since we are running short on time and everybody is waiting for the entire event and the question and answers, I'm going to request all the panel members that we stick to the 5-6 minutes time limit that we have so that everybody gets an opportunity to share and then we move on to the question and answer round. Thank you so much.
Okay. Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, and esteemed colleagues. So I'm very happy to give me the opportunity to speak a few lines on this NPST. So I start with my points that came in my mind after reading the documents, NPST document. So it is clearly mentioned there, role of a teacher is not not the teaching and learning; it's a mentor and facilitator. So on that basis, I'll move ahead. So there, one challenges, one point is there in the NPST document, challenges faced by the teachers. So there are 4 points mentioned. One is low salary, no growth, no mentor, and high stress. So according to my observation, just a subjective observation, if you give some weightage on those challenges, I find low salary, you can give 20% weightage on that. No growth, you have to give 40% weightage on that. And no mentorship is 30% weightage you have to provide. And high stress, maybe for the public institutions, but for government institutions, it is less, it's around 10%. So, as it is clearly mentioned there, so there are several stages of career progression: beginner teacher, proficient teacher, expert teacher, and lead teacher. So, when one teacher move from one stage to another stage, what are the professional requirements? It's clearly mentioned in the NPST document. Some points coming in my mind. So, I just want to mention those points. If please go to the fourth slide, please. Fourth slide, please. Please go to the next slide. Okay. So this is the first stage, the beginner teacher. The professional requirement already laid down in the NPST document. But apart from that, what I feel, we need when we assess them, the ICT knowledge, because it is very important, because the teacher's profile, updation of the teacher's profile, creation some digital content for online teaching. So ICT knowledge for the teachers at the beginning level is very essential. The pedagogy, obviously, it is there. And regular feedback from the stakeholders is essential for assessing the professional requirement of a teacher. And this regular feedback is not only from the mentor or the supervisor, it should come from the students also, maybe from some selected batch of students. That feedback will help in improving their professional requirement. In the L1 level, the professional requirement is obviously ICT. The knowledge of ICT is essential in the present context. Pedagogy update, how much the teacher update his or her professional, proficiency in pedagogy. Then feedback from the stakeholders, obviously it should be included in the second level also. Then quality of the study material. Now we have to, since the teacher at the proficient level, the teacher is preparing some study material. So those study material, the quality of the study materials need to be evaluated. And practices on effective curriculum delivery. What are the different practices the expert teacher, proficient teacher is implementing for effective curriculum delivery? So that to be, measured for calculating his proficiency, his or her proficiency. Then administrative knowledge. From that onward, I feel the administrative knowledge should also be provided to the proficient teacher, because after some years, that teacher may lead to some administrative job role also. In the third part, the expert teacher, ICT knowledge is, I feel it's essential to measure the knowledge of ICT, because a regular update on ICT knowledge is essential. Then study material development, because already that teacher is as an expert teacher, so the teacher is able to prepare effective study material from from his or her experience in teaching for so many years. Then mentoring, that is also a parameter that to be incorporated for the teacher evaluation of the expert teacher. Mentoring of L1 level teacher and L2 level teacher. So level 1 teacher and level 2 teacher. Then innovative technique. What are the innovative technique that is implemented by that particular teacher in the expert level? So what are the innovative technique he or she is developing? Then administrative skill. So now I am not mentioning it is an administrative knowledge, I'm mentioning it is an administrative skill, because already administrative knowledge has been given to the teacher. In the fourth level also, measurement of the proficiency is required, where how much mentoring the teacher is doing, that need to be measured. ICT knowledge, obviously it's there, required. Study material development, that part should be there. And innovative technique on curricular implementation and administrative skill. So that professional requirement, these are the parameters I feel that need to be measured for establishing their profession. Now, technology integration, time is over. 1 minute. Okay. So technology integration, again, it's a very important part from all aspects, from all corners of our stakeholders, to design and implement an integrated education management system, where entire database of the teachers and students, because when we collect feedback from the students, how will collect the student feedback from the students? So students database should be there. So that to be created through an integrated education management system, where teachers database will be there. Teacher will update their own profile, the digital content they are developing, the method they are implementing, all will be updated through that portal. So then feedback collection and analysis will also be through that particular portal, so a state can implement that particular mechanism. And evaluation of the learning outcome, when a teacher teaches the in the domain of outcome based education, so the evaluation of learning outcome is essential. So based on the learning outcomes of a particular teacher, the feedback the teachers proficiency will be measured. Obviously review of teaching method based on learning outcome. And recommendation, if certain learning outcome is not observed from some particular teacher, then from this database one can recommend what kind of professional improvement is required for that particular teacher, that can be suggested. Then online courses for the teachers for professional improvement. Then I'll go a little fast, because okay, so I'm coming to the, okay, so this is one important point that I feel. The teachers education training institute, what should be the role of the teachers teachers education training institutes, apart from the activity, normal activity going on in those institutions. The teachers will be trained in creation of digital content to ensure learning in the affective and psychomotor domain to the maximum extent. Use of existing digital content, teachers will be trained on that. Online assessment method in an effective manner, preventing unethical practices. Because of this pandemic, we are bound to do those things. Innovation on online digital content creation to fulfill partially the laboratory classes and classes for performing arts also, that teachers should be trained using those institutions apart from the normal activities. And incentives for the teachers should be there for training and creation of e-content. Then obviously the panel discussion like today, we can organize some panel discussions among the teachers to assess how they are implementing their practices on teaching learning of different topics. Say some teachers are teaching mathematics in a good manner. Our principals are from Assam Jatiya Vidyalaya is sitting there. They have some unique method for teaching mathematics. So can we institutionalize, or can we have some panel discussion to incorporate that to other institutions? I mean, other institutions can take help of that. It's not moving. Okay, so this is all about my feeling about NPST. I thank all of you to be here with and listening my discussion. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. And believe me, I did not switch that off. I don't know how it got off. Thank you so much. Please, sir. And some very interesting points there, right from the 4 stages of the teachers to what different stakeholders should be doing to what training institutions should be doing. I think there were a lot of takeaways. I would now request Mrs. Prabha Dastidar, former principal, Army Public School, to share her thoughts on the NPST document. Ma'am, basically your experience from the school and what you feel about the document is what we would really appreciate to know about.
Honorable Vice Chancellor, Cotton University, Professor Goswami, NCTE officials, and distinguished guests. In the knowledge ecosystem and the educational space, knowledge is the key, and education is a means to attain that key. Institutions are not places. They are psychological spaces where learners evolve as a person, their perspectives grow, and the space of not knowing is the space where learning happens. And that liberates him or her. So it is an inclusive magnetic field which holds learners in its web of inclusion. Who is a guru? G, you are you. The guru brings out the learner's own magnificence and its own excellence. Like, for example, in an university, the learner becomes universal. The focus is now on teachers, as the most important document here shows. And the teacher is always the eternal traveler. He never stops. He is the dispeller of darkness. He connects the learner to the whole from the parts. And we all know there is no Chandragupta without Chanakya. There is no Arjuna without Sri Krishna. Such is the importance of teachers. And we all know that excellence has always been sporadic, like fireflies, burning here, burning there, an IIT here, an IIM there, a Tendulkar here, a Ramanujan there. But if it has a national identity, a national character for collective greatness and organic growth, then all institutions could be the best. And that depends on the culture of creating knowledge, competencies of teachers, and the practices combined with rigor and discipline. Now the world is talking about knowledge utilization, knowledge brokerage, knowledge dissemination, knowledge transfer. And in a country which has so much of disparity, approximately 130 crores people, more than 78 political parties, home to about 4 major religions, and about 230 ways of cooking the potato. Such is the disparity. And apart from those disparities, we have dysfunctional mindsets. Falling coconuts kill more people than sharks. But which is thought to be more dangerous? Sharks. So that is a dysfunctional mindset. It is time to re-engineer our mindsets and to tread on untrodden paths. I'm sure this will give us a lot to study on. Now, what is the educational landscape from our experience? I'll just give you a small story. A student in a residential school rings up what he thought was the canteen and asks for a cup of coffee. The voice on the other side says, "No, this is not the canteen. Do you know who you're talking to?" He says, "No." "Well, it's the principal's office." Then the student recovered and said, "Do you know who you are talking to?" "No," said the principal. "Thank God." And he keeps the phone. So this is a sort of an educational and as landscape. A student in a geography class was asked, how many continents are there? One student stood up and answered, there are 8 continents. Which is the 8th? We are not aware of it. The boy said, internet. Half or more people live there. So this is the type of the students that we have. So actually he was pretty on the dot that there are more people living on the internet with the technology invasion into our lives. Now, everyone tends to be very cynical about educational leadership. So we want teachers to touch our lives, embed qualities, values, which will be of prime importance. And excellence is not easy. That is about 3 hours of practice into 10 years in a row. So educational leadership is a function of practice. Secondly, the most important thing I can glean from my gurus so many years is the patterns of interference must be undone in classroom engagement. Because learners are the raw material that they must be able to morph to higher performance. Now, teachers need to create values rather than volumes. A man who went to school in a very expensive car, a Rolls Royce, Ratan Tata, he built and created the nano vehicle for the middle class segment. So what did he do? He built values for volumes of people. That is what teaching needs to be done. Teachers, they need to do that. And also to show entrepreneurship in identifying new vistas of expansion of knowledge and opportunities. Teachers build sustainable future. They must be in currency with the latest developments. Now there was a climate change meeting, COP, and any other challenging factor for all of us. Teachers envision the future. That's another very important quality we need to imbibe. I'll just illustrate this with a small example. There was a boy once who wanted to meet the king in the kingdom, and he mindfully expressed and told the people he can make the king's horse fly. He was summoned to the court and asked to accomplish his feat. And he asked for a period of 6 months. In the meantime, he examined his options. Well, the horse could die, the king could die, or the horse could actually fly. So today we see, as you know, birds fly, today aeroplanes fly. So this boy had this neuro ability to envision the future. That is what we need to give to our students. Thought patterns become a reality. We need to give it to our students. Teachers need digital competence, but interspersed with values. The artificial intelligence is here to stay. The metaverse, which is the latest concept, teleportation into your classrooms. These are all advantages for audiovisual realm. But the missing values could get your institutions compromised. You have to be careful. Scams, scandals, tax evasions are operating outside the moral construct. We need to ethically examine them. And since I have to shorten it up, teachers need to upskill to help scope, solve, prioritize, expand laterally to define the role of knowledge professional. Then the expression and communication. You've all heard about Mahatma Gandhi, and what added muscle to his mass movements was his ability to be a leader and to have a lot of followers. Then when we hear about three important things, one is purpose, performance, and possibilities. We must, teaching is something which is beyond your own personal goal. It must be greater than your personal goal. That is when you show passion. There are some challenges in personal conduct, academic honesty, competency, and a teacher being able to live in change management, know-how in values, and of course, develop the local curriculum, networking skills, and of course, be broad pedagogical experts. Thank you so much for giving us a chance to express our ideas. Thank you once again.
Thank you so much, ma'am. These were really enlightening words. And your storytelling is exceptional, I must say. I'm going to take your permission and use some of them in my sessions in the future. I would now like to welcome Dr. M.K. Mahanta, Principal, Pragya Jyotish College. Sir, we're waiting for your thoughts on the NPST document.
A very good afternoon to all of you. My respected Vice Chancellor of Curtin University, Madam Sherpa, Member Secretary NCT, and my esteemed participants here, my fellow panelists, and respected moderator, Rishabh Khanna. So I have been given this opportunity to speak here for 6 minutes that have been told to me earlier. So I have not prepared for the slides. So respected dignitaries and my dear participants, today we are discussing a very pertinent and important issues on which the whole NEP is depending on. That is the National Professional Standards for Teachers. In this regard, I would like to call about the development goals set up by the United Nations in 2016 March. That prior to that also there were the development goals in 2000 that have been called as Millennium Development Goals. But 2016, with a core of having a core on this education system, the development goal have been expanded with 17 charter. And the fourth charter of the development goal is particularly on this education system, that is the quality education. So once Malala Yousafzai, all of you have heard about him, the youngest Nobel laureate of this globe. She's from Pakistan. She told that all the development goals set up by United Nations is depending on the education system. So we have to be very careful in implementing this, and that is the idea of Government of India, and that is why this type of seminar and workshop is being held, to give and share some ideas from the educationist. Being a person involved in this field for long 25 years, I have some ideas in my mind that I want to share amongst you. Dear participant friends and my dear respected colleagues here, so teaching is the profession upon which all other profession depends. So we must be very much careful about this profession. During the recent past, several developed and developing countries around the globe have taken initiative to raise the standard of the teachers, as it has been found that economic and social progress of a country is connected with the students' achievement. There is a very precise study by UNESCO. I will give you the data at the end of my topic lecture. Next one is the student of some countries were unable to compete with their peers of some other countries because of their financial problems and some other disparities. Therefore, student learning is definitely connected with the teacher's effectiveness. In this regard, a line by William Arthur Wood may be quoted. The mediocre teacher tells, the good teacher explains, the superior teacher demonstrates, and the great teacher inspires. So we need all these four classes of teachers, but we should give more emphasis on the last two sections. The superior teacher demonstrates and the great teacher inspires. We have to inspire our students, then only they will come for learning. This professional standard for teachers can be traced back to the National Commission of Teachers Education and Profession Standards in 1946 by USA, whose primary objectives was to upgrade the status of teaching to a profession. But after 75 years, we are still debating on the need of the parameters to be set in the context of professional standards. My dear friends, all the clauses that will be sought to be framed and implemented within the ambit of a proposed National Professional Standard for Teachers, that is NPST, in India, under the backdrop of the National Education Policy 2020, must take into the consideration of the following observations. That is, to me, you may not be agreed with me too. Number one, defining scientifically based entry-level parameters. Many countries like Chile, Colombia, El Salvador, Mexico, Pakistan even, Peru, and some parts of Brazil have moved to incorporate the test in their hiring practices. That means the specific practices they have that co-opted this methodology. Likewise, in Ecuador, teachers are selected through use of combination of a test and a demonstration class. In India, it is the net or slate component, allowing persons with net slate. I am not against the net or slate. Please try to uh, understand my feelings. With net and slate, good academic background and publication profile, with or without oral interview to enter the teaching profession, is a highly unscientific approach, because mere having a good certificate, gold medalist, he or she may not be a good teacher, because a good teacher should have some basic parameters. He have the communicating skill, or he or she has the communicating skill, and he should have the capacity to understand the feeling of the fellow students. So considering all these parameters, my observation is that it will be a top priority to bring the dropout students back into the educational fold, to prevent further students from dropping out, to achieve 100% GER in preschool and secondary level by 2030, which has been specifically, categorically mentioned in clause 3.1 in NEP 2020. And in this regard, the recommendations are development of a proper mechanism to identify the dropout segment, analyze the reason of their dropouts, and adopt appropriate remedial measures, and recruitment of properly trained teachers who have acquired the non-traditional skills to motivate students to make teaching worthwhile and attractive. And in NEP clause 5.20, which we are discussing here, a common guideline set of NPST will be developed by 2020. And in that case, I would like to recommend here that just like other professional bodies in India, like Medical Council of India, Indian Nursing Council, Pharmacy Council of India, Veterinary Council of India, Bar Council of India, etc. There are so many professional bodies who have their trainings before joining in their jobs, even in IAS also. But we need to have a professional body for the teachers also. Such a body, that is Education Council of India, that nomenclature may be different, shall provide license to qualified component and able persons to carrying out this profession within the country. Next, promotions and salary increases will not occur based on the length of the tenure of a teacher. That should be taken care of. I am concluding within 1 minute. In our case, after a service, having service of 20 or 25 years, we'll move to the associate professor and professorship, and our salary also increases in that regard. But here, my observation and my suggestion is promotions and salary increase will not occur based on the length of tenure or seniority, but on the basis of such appraisal. And that has been categorically mentioned in NEP clause 5.20. And in this regard, I would like to a request to ensure the entry of trained teachers with professional mindset into the education sector. And next one, ensuring the continuous professional development of the in-service teachers through the NPST mechanism. With these few words, I would like to conclude. And once again, I would like to thank all the organizers to giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. I'd like to next call upon Ms. Mausumi Mahanta, Principal, Maria's Public School.
Good afternoon to all the dignitaries present here. I hope I can stick to the 6 minutes that has been given to me. The National Education Policy 2020 envisions an Indian-centered education system that contributes directly to transforming our nation sustainably into an equitable and vibrant knowledge society by providing high-quality education to all. I would like to begin. Why did the need arise? India was ranked second last among the 73 countries in the PISA, which was held in 2009. PISA stands for Program for International Students' Achievement, and it basically tries to measure 15-year-olds' ability to use whatever they read, their science and mathematic knowledge and skills, to lifelong learning goals. Secondly, in many governmental and non-governmental surveys, it has been brought to light that over 5 crore students in elementary school do not have foundational literacy and numeracy. It means they cannot read and comprehend basic text. They cannot do subtraction and addition. I'm talking about basic subtraction and addition with Indian numerals. Thirdly, less than half of Indian graduates are employable, states the 8th edition of the Indian Skills Report released very recently. Most importantly, India is going to have the highest young population in the world over the next decade. Therefore, the educational opportunities that we create for them will determine the future of our nation. We must also remember that the entire landscape has changed dramatically, be it the global ecosystem, knowledge landscapes, environment landscapes. Therefore, 65% of students who have entered primary school today will be in completely new jobs which do not exist today. Therefore, it is important that we gear up to what lies ahead of us, I'm sorry. And the NEP 2020 calls for a complete overhaul of the education system, wherein teachers will have to play a very, very important role. Professional development of teachers is very important, and that is the reason why the NPST is trying to work and lay down modalities. I would like to share that CBSE, in association with British Council, has already started on a project keeping the national education policy in light to give professional support to over 2,000 teachers with regard to competency-based education. And it is also planning to give 14,000 teachers support through a bank of integrated lessons that map to the competencies and sustainable development goals. In fact, if we are to bring about a complete change in the education system, teachers will have to move from content-based approach to a competency-based learning system. Teachers must be upgraded with the necessary set of skills to invoke intrinsic motivation in the students. That is motivation coming from within to learn. I think the first bell has already gone, so I'm going to quickly read the next point so that I don't waste time. So according to the NEP and the NPST, teachers are to have adequate knowledge of the subject content for achievement of standards, have the required ability to deliver quality competency-based lessons, is able to promote critical thinking and problem-solving skills in learners, is able to generate curiosity and inquisitiveness, have the passion to provide ample opportunities to learners to speak, create, evolve, and grow. And most importantly, we have to understand that we have to create inclusive classrooms. The practice of differentiated classroom is something that we all will have to understand, because no students are alike. And we have to customize learning so that we bring up the students who sit in the last benches. Dr. Kalam had said that the brightest minds of the country are to be found on the last benches of the classroom. So education has to be inclusive, personalized learning must be inculcated, and we have to remember that our classrooms are very, very diverse. They're inclusive, and today's students are plugged into technology. So teachers will have to move from a gatekeeper of knowledge, or simply a knowledge provider, to a facilitator and a mentor who is going to ensure that the learning that happens in the classroom will be learning for life. Assessments has to change dramatically. We have laid too much of emphasis on summative examination after teaching the curriculum or the content. Rather, assessment must be regular and continuous. That gives an opportunity to teachers to restructure the lesson plan, to reteach after gauging the difficulty levels of the students, or trying to understand what the students have learned from the content that was taught. So we have to move away from rote memorization to hands-on activities, skills that will help students look beyond and thereby transcend the NEP into reality. I think together we will be able to do it, but I do feel that it is a futuristic document, and We will have to move mountains in the first few years to make the implementation happen. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for sharing the thoughts, ma'am. And I agree with you that it's a very progressive document and we will have to work together on that. In fact, picking up just 2 points, you said, Dr. Kalam mentioned about that the best ideas come from the back benches, the last benches of the classroom. In fact, you know what technology has done? When a teacher is actually taking an online classroom, almost every student and any student can just put their camera off, right? We're today teaching classrooms with all the students sitting in the back benches. Very few students in the front bench, that too intentionally. So imagine a teacher running a classroom with all backbenchers. So inclusivity is such an important thing there. So thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. Moving ahead, I now invite Mr. Ghansham Medhi, Principal Assam Jatiya Vidyalaya. Thank you so much.
Namaskar, respected dignitaries present here. Today I am going to present my viewpoint about this subject NPST para 5.25 of National Education Policy 2020. I am giving my comment from my experience of 25 years teaching experience and 8 years experience as principal. I shall present here 8 points. Yes, next slide. My first point is selection procedure of teacher. There are 3 steps should be followed for selecting the teachers. Though the candidate have the required qualification, and the steps are written examination or test, classroom demonstration, which is most important, and oral interview. Already Mahanta sir has said a good student, a brilliant student may not be a good teacher. That is why these 3 steps should be done. My next point is probation period for selected or appointed teacher. The job of a teacher should not be granted as permanent as soon as he or she is appointed. There should be a probation period of 1 year. During this probation period, the performance of the appointed teacher should be evaluated, and if found satisfied and fit, then he or she should get permanent status. If found lacking, then probation period should be extended for 1 more year, and they should be given scope for self-improvement. If one's performance is found unsatisfied or negative, then he or she teaching job will be his or her teaching job will get discontinued. The job of a teacher become permanent when the probation period is over successfully. Another important point is that every new teachers should be given training mandatorily at initial stage. These are some forms to evaluate the teachers. My third point is regular monitoring of lesson progress in monthly basis. The permanent teacher should go through a monthly checking process regarding the lesson progress and homework checking and other performances. This monthly monitoring should be conducted under the guidance of concerned principal or vice principal or head of the institute. And there are some forms. Using this form, we may evaluate the teachers. Students' assessment of teacher. Every year, The teacher should go through an assessment by their student. For that purpose, there should be a separate form in the school for the students to give their remarks assessment on their teachers, and these assessments should be conducted annually. These exercises aim at improving the efficiency of the teachers and not to find his her fault or lacuna. My 5 point is performance-based increment promotion. Already Mohanto sir has told. Promotion and salary increment should occur only on the performance of the teacher, not on the length of the tenure and seniority. Performance record of teacher should be evaluated annually. The increment should be category-wise. Reward and incentive should be awarded to the well-performed teachers. Time-bound increment, extra benefit should be given to the efficient teacher to encourage the teachers. My 6 point is teachers training program. At least one training program should be mandatory for the teacher in a year. There should be a separate training cell for that purpose in education department. This cell will be responsible for conducting periodic training of the teachers. Training schedule should be fixed in such a way so that the regular classes of the school remain unaffected. My 7 point is efficiency on local language. The appointed teacher must be efficient in the local language of the concerned school so that healthy interaction can be present between the students and teacher. My 8 point is to attract the more talented and dedicated students to the teaching profession, especially in the primary and high school level. There should be a provision of higher pay package and other facilities as enjoyed by doctors, engineers, and other higher rank work officers. Teaching profession should be promoted to that higher level. The above mentioned steps are feasible in real life, and we have been implementing this procedure, except the point 8, in our school since its inception. National Education Policy 2020 is very good and pragmatic and systematic in this changing social milieu, and I hope, if it is implemented in true sense and actively and wholeheartedly, India would go under a vast sense. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I think some very good examples of implementation of the things that NPST is actually talking about. So we would love to take further feedback from you on the forms and maybe see how what all can be integrated. Now I'd like to invite Dr. Tarali Pathak. I hope I am pronouncing the name correct. Tarali Pathak, is it? Yeah. Assistant Professor, Education Department, Cotton University.
Namaskar. Respected NCT member, Madam Sherpa Madam, my guru, Dr. Nilima Bhagavati Madam, my teachers who taught me, who is sitting here, my colleagues and my friends. So I have just started my teaching career and I am daring to speak in front of this learned gathering. So pardon me if I say anything wrong. I would like to touch the topic, the theme, teaching as a profession in the 21st century in context of NPTES. So what our society expects from the teachers. So the teachers who has not only profound subject matter knowledge, but also the teachers who are morally and ethically strong. The teachers who not only devote themselves for the development of students, but also devote themselves for their own development, own professional growth. The teacher who has perseverance for our cultural heritage, as well as the teachers who are equipped with modern technology. So the job of teacher is not easy, as most of the people thinks, and the standards, the criterias laid down by national professional standards for teachers will prepare the teachers to take up this difficult job in an efficient way. So, teaching as a profession in the 21st century. We need passionate teachers, the teachers who love teaching. But in the present time, we see that I have also seen so many students who want to be a teacher, who has the passion for teaching, but they cannot enroll in a teacher educational institute because the cost is too high. And I think this is a hurdle while achieving the objective of making our teachers or selecting the teachers who are passionate about teaching. Secondly, there is a criteria that ICT will be used as a measuring criteria for teachers' development. ICT in the classroom, using the ICT in the classroom. But there is disparity in basis on the basis of regions, right? There are some schools who doesn't have the proper basic infrastructural facilities. Some schools are there who doesn't even have the electricity also. So we have to see that, no, we want to make this professional standard for all our country, but we have to be flexible while implementing it. And we see that the number of students in private schools are increasing. There are various reasons for that, but we have to see this, and NPST will be implemented in both private and public schools. And we have to see that while implementing this in private schools, we have to see the economic and job security of the teachers. And there is a point that the NPST ensures that well supported and deserved teachers will be there at all stages of education. But there are so many schools where the number of teachers are less than the number of classes. So it is very difficult to support that thing. But I think the new education policy has come up with an idea of cluster schools, and it will help to use the resources of neighboring schools. Then one thing I like very much in this document, that not only the teaching skills will be evaluated. Generally, what happens for the promotion of the teachers, we evaluate only teaching skills and your subject matter knowledge. But in this document, it has been said that we will be evaluated on the basis of the values and ethics that we have. And I think that NCT has already devised an objective method of measuring this ethics and values, because we need it in present society, because this is degrading and students imbibe us, and we need these values. And there is one point, that the in-service teacher education, it has been mentioned that it will be a part of the career advancement scheme. But this is a very good point, because what happens that teachers, they have only the pre-service teachers, and after that they do not feel the need of or necessity of getting the in-service teacher education program. But as it has been laid as an criteria for advancement in the teaching profession, in their career, that is why it is a very good point. As the time is short, it is like hatimari bhurukat bhoroa, or camel going through an eye of a needle. So I want to conclude that if we work together, as madam said, if we can work together, we can achieve these goals, and we will see a changed scenario of our education system. Thank you. Dhanyabad.
Thank you so much, Dr. Thoroughly. I can tell you one thing for sure. That was a very good review of the document, and I'm sure your guru sitting here, Professor Nilima, she would be feeling so proud of you right now, right, Professor? If your student is able to deliver that, I think our work is done very well. Before we go ahead with the question and answer round, I would request Professor Sangeeta to felicitate the chief guest, please.
We are so pleased to announce that the chief guest of today's program, the Honorable Chairperson, NCTE, and also the Additional Secretary, Ministry of Education, Government of India, Sri Santosh Kumar Sarangi, has arrived. He is in our midst now, and we would like to felicitate you, sir, with our tokens of love and appreciation. May I request Dr. Saurav Thakur to kindly do the honors. Thank you. The panel discussion will continue now, and Sir will speak to us in the next session, in the beginning of the afternoon session. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll now be taking up a few questions with the very learned panel that we have here today. I've prepared a set of questions, and I think considering the role that all of the panel members play in their lives, I'm going to ask specific questions, and then we'll open the question answer round to the audience. So, well, I would like to start with the last speaker. You waited for a very long time. And it's something which is related to the present world. And we want young teachers, we want young education experts to basically lead the complete education profession now. So you see, the students in schools today were born in a world of internet, right? I think most of the learners in schools today can't even imagine a world without internet, right? If you tell them that there was a time when the phones were only corded and we had to go to receive a call, they're like, how did you even live in that world? So we're talking about that world where they can't visualize a world without the internet. So are the teachers, according to you, able to see the world with the same lens as the students? And what are the top skills of teachers that can help them to stay connected with these students today and in the future? So would love to have your feedback on that.
Okay. Sir, for most of the teachers, as we experience, for most of the teachers, as we experience that it is not, possible for them to see the world as the students are, seeing, because the students, they are used to this technology even after their birth. But most of the teachers who are teaching in schools, they have this technology in the later years of their life. So it is very difficult to see the world as students are seeing, because as I am not so old, but the students who are teaching, who are in our institute also, in our university also, they know much about technology than us. We are trying to do that. And the second part of the question is that what skills we need. Basically, the first skill we need is to, we have to accept, we have the ability to accept that the world is changing. Some people may say that the online teaching is what? Online teaching is not good for the present time situation. It is so boring. But this is the only way that we tried, we used in from the last year. And this is helping us, and that acceptability is needed, the willingness to learn. Then the skill to understand the mental ability of the students, because it is true that online learning is the only way now, but the students who are sitting out there, behind a black screen, they they feel bored. So we have to use some other measures also while teaching. So these are certain skills to understand the mental abilities, to mental conditions of the students. Their empathy is needed there, because some of the students, they don't have that facility they don't have that facility to continue their education, because some of the students don't have the proper internet facility, and some students don't have the devices also. So we have to be empathized with them. So we should try to learn to teach both in online mode and both in offline mode. That means in a blended way, effectively.
Thank you so much. That was a wonderful answer indeed. Thank you. I'd like to go to Dr. Utpal next. Sir, in your opinion, what does a healthy student-teacher relationship mean in 21st century? And what are the major issues around having a healthy relationship today? So we've always talked about Indian teacher-student Guru Shishya Parampara as being the core of the Indian education system. But then today, teacher-student relationship has been redefined. According to you, what is it and what are the issues around that?
So I feel that Guru Shishya relationship in the ancient India was very friendly. Though we think it's a there is a big wall between the Guru and Shishya, I think it's not like that. And still, I find that kind of wall has not been created. I mean, very strongly, though it is there. So my perception, and being a teacher for last 22 years in higher education institute, I feel students are very good, and we have to, I mean, bring them to our domain by mentoring them. And if we get connected with the students, we can make, make any changes that we need, that we feel is required for the student, we can make. So my perception is, if we get connected with the students, then we can make the changes. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. I'd like to go to Miss. What was the name? I'm searching for the name. Miss Mausumi Mahanta. So I know you by face, but I was searching for her name actually. One core question, that considering that technology plays a key role in education delivery today, right? So imagine if I came to you and I was designing the entire curriculum for preparation of teachers, and technology and the changing world requirements, changing students' personality, what would be the key skills you would want education, curriculum designer to put in for teacher skill set, so that when that teacher reaches your school, you are an acting principal right now. You're a principal right now, right? So let's say a teacher has to come to teach in your school in the year 2026, 2025, 2026. What would make that teacher an ideal teacher? Somebody who enters the class and you know that, okay, the teacher has been impacted from day one. What would be the wish list of skills that you would want in that teacher?
Yes, there'd be so many. I really don't know where to start from. I think a teacher walking into my school, the first thing that I'm going to look at is, will this teacher be able to befriend the students who he or she is expected to teach? As I said earlier, the teacher's role has changed. It is required of the teacher that she also knows, the movies that students like watching, or the games that they are into. Because to understand the students better, the teacher will have to know the students in and out. Most importantly, a teacher must have ITC skills and media skills. Media skills are also very important because we have already entered the world where we all understand that hybrid learning is going to be the learning for the future. The pandemic has shown us that it's not only offline education that is beneficial, or offline classes that is beneficial, but online classes can also be extremely progressive and beneficial if the teacher knows how to capture the attention of the students. And so much can be done at the click of a button. We can actually take a virtual tour of the entire world. In fact, a teacher can also be a counselor to students to help them choose the universities after class 12. She, along with the students, can take a virtual tour of the universities that the students are aspiring for. So much can be done nowadays. So that is what I feel. I mean, we have to become, companions of the students, to really understand them better,
Right.
apart from teaching only what is there in the curriculum.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And in fact, if I look at all the skills that you mentioned closely, each one of them is a superpower. Do you realize that? So basically a teacher is a superhero who's going to come to the classroom and is going to transform students' lives.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. Thank you so
And
much.
most importantly, as I already mentioned, a teacher has to understand that, she is teaching a classroom that is inclusive, has to be inclusive.
Absolutely.
And customized learning is a must today. Otherwise, we
Absolutely.
cannot reach each and every student.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. Can you please pass on to Mr. Ghansham Midhi? Sir, you had mentioned in your presentation on various methods that you currently use in your school to evaluate teachers, to continuously support them in learning. So, what according to you is the importance of lifelong learning for teachers? And how should a teacher plan their continuous professional development along with daily teaching and learning routine? Because they're already doing a lot, right? And in that entire process, if a teacher is made responsible now to plan their career professional development, which, by the way, NPST wants the teachers to do, a teacher should be responsible for their growth, not the accountability and the responsibility should be on them while an entire ecosystem supports them. So if you had to give a suggestion to a teacher, a new teacher or an experienced teacher to design their continuous professional development pathway themselves, what would be your suggestions and how important is lifelong learning for them?
I think that I mentioned those process, continuous evaluation. It is important. Practically, we see that a good student when join as a teacher, after getting the permanent job, he in school, uh, his performance gradually go downwards. So that is why I am mentioning here what we are doing in our school, continuous evaluation process annually. I think that up to 10 years or 15 years, he has to face this continuous evaluation. After that, he may relieve from it.
Okay, got that. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So, Dr. Ghansham, Mr. Ghansham mentions that continuous professional development has to be a continuous part, and instead of uh, professional development happening as multivitamin capsules coming once in a year, it has to be a continuous dose of nutrients on an everyday basis so that a teacher continuously grows, right? That's wonderful. Sir, I'd like to come to you, Dr. Mahanta. You mentioned that teachers' growth and appraisal should not be based on the tenure, but should be based on their competence, right? So, like we evaluate students, their learning to measure their progress, right? Uh, on an annual basis, on a weekly basis, monthly basis, we evaluate them. Do you think there should be a teacher skill evaluation also put in place?
Yes.
How often should it be done, and how should it be done? Just your key thoughts on that.
Yeah. Yes, I have categorically mentioned in my presentation there that in this profession, because every sustainable development goals, I repeatedly saying that everything depends on the education. If the country, the people of the country is not well educated, then the country will not explore. One good survey was done by UNESCO. I have to mention there itself in my presentation. I could not do it due to the time constraint. That if you give 1 year more extra education to the citizen of a country, all over the globe they have studied it. Out of 143 countries, they found it that if you give one more year of education to the citizens, then your poverty level goes down to 10%. That is a very vital point to be taken care of. So since you are you are in a mechanism where you are producing the human resources, so your mechanism should be very precise and very perfect. You are not preparing any machine or making any machine. You are making the human resource. So if you have to make it a resource, then you must be a resourceful person. Teachers must be resourceful. But I am not categorically mentioning all of you. Unfortunately, what I have seen in my long 25-year journey as an education in the field of education, many of us, including me, I am not excluding myself from this part. So including me, whenever we get a permanent job, stagnancy comes there. Okay, I have got the security, then okay. We are doing the orientation course for 20 days and 20 days refresher course doesn't refresh anything, I think so. If we join there in university, go to the orientation program and do the refresher courses, are you being refreshed? Are you being oriented to do something? If I ask a science graduate here, science teacher, how many stages of matter here? A physics teacher, abruptly they will say 3. But that is absolutely wrong. In this 21st century, if the science teacher says that there are 3 stages of matter, you should have sympathy for him or apathy for him or her. Because for 5th stage of matter, people have got the Nobel Prize. So you see the apathy of our teachers. Many of our science teachers do not know how many stages of matter are there. I'm sorry to say. So there should be some, rewarding and your, not punishment actually, there should be some, yes, I should like to say that word punishment even. Being a principal, I have to write down the ACR for promotion. This is a mere mechanism. I have to write down blah, blah, blah. Automatically, they will get the promotion to the next stage. And once they attain the higher level stage, they will say you the thenga. Because we have nothing to do. Automatically, they will go to the associate professor level.
Right.
I am sorry to say, many of our, not many, a few of our teachers, without doing anything, even writing a single article in the little magazine even, they have gone to the level of associate professorship. Why? There should be some barrier. I am not against you. Please, excuse me if I am wrong somewhere. We have to inculcate ourselves. You have to study because this is the 21st century, because our students are very, very intelligent. उनका हाथ पे मुट्ठी पे दुनिया है मैं যদি preparedness লৈ পেলাই ক্লাছত নাযাওঁ our students are very intelligent they will not reciprocate you but they will judge you that oh meme এইখিনিও নাজানে ছাৰে এইখিনিও নাজানে yeah exactly I agree I agree that's why I'm not categorically mentioning everyone
So we are not generalizing, of course.
Yeah.
But these are personal thoughts, right? And
Yes.
Dr. Mahanta, we hear you loud and clear. What you're saying is there has to be a measure of measuring teachers' competence and skill set as well.
Yes.
And if we, as teachers, are expecting growth like other professions,
Yes.
we should be evaluated like every other profession.
Yes.
Thank you so much,
I
sir.
am telling, including myself. I am not excluding myself.
No.
Please.
We all understand, sir.
If I am wrong somewhere, please excuse me. I am considering myself to be in that group. I am also somehow lagging behind. So we have to try ourselves to uplift ourselves because
Of course.
education is a lifelong process. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. And finally, I'd love to come to Mrs. Prabha Dastidar, ma'am, with your experience of, actually educating so many generations, I'll say, right? A couple of generations easily. I'm sure you would have had families where the, parents came and said, ma'am, you taught me and now my kid is coming to your school. I'm sure you've had that experience.
I have
So,
many parents here, in fact.
absolutely. So you see, teachers have always played a pivotal role in child's development. And it's not today or yesterday, it's since always. What do you think are the major changes being observed in the teacher's role specifically in the last decade? So let's consider 2011 to 2021 specifically. And when I'm talking about this decade, I'm talking about the time when we started preferring smart boards over smart teachers. We're talking about the last one decade where we expect everything from a teacher, but then the role has not really evolved. So what do you think are the major challenges and how has the role changed over the last one decade?
The first challenge I would say was the failure to adapt. And what they need most is adaptation to a new kind of a situation. So what schools normally do is within their available resources, whatever they can do, they do it. Because we need to be a resourceful teacher. The word resource means rehashing the source. But they don't have the requisite training to rehash the resources. So that was one of the things we felt was a challenge. And of course, interpersonal relations between teachers and students. The objectivity for which is required in any kind of evaluation, that leaves much to be desired, because very often we feel it's more subjective than objective. It could be. So the one of these two were one of the major challenges
Completely
for
agree.
us.
Completely
And
agree.
of course, communication. I always think whatever skill sets they should be learning through curriculum at the level, when we try and interview them, they always fall short. And I feel these days to have an intense intellectual debate in the classes, we need a teacher who knows how to negotiate, who knows how to speak in every kind of knowledge dissemination.
Right.
But that is something, a hurdle for us.
I completely agree.
So,
Completely with you on
and of
that.
course, digital competence is very important. Now, with metaverse coming, we need to ask how many have actually read it and what teleportation in the classes
let's
could
do a
be.
quick survey here. How many of us have heard about metaverse? What is metaverse? I'm sure the average person raising their hand would be below 30 or 35 years of age. What is metaverse? Average. You see, that's what we're talking about.
Yes, that's coming now, and our
Yeah.
teachers would need to adapt
Ex-
because all
absolutely.
the younger generation have heard about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
these challenges must be overcome and must be addressed in your
Got it.
document.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so
Thank
much.
you so much, ma'am. I think some amazing answers from the panelists here today. Would you agree? Yes, no, maybe? How many of you are saying yes? Show me your hand. How many of you are saying no? How many of you are not on either side? Come on. Okay, let's open up the dais for the questions from the audience now. I'd requested you to keep noting down your questions for the panel, for me. We are ready for the questions now. We will be spending, very little time, and let's collect some questions. Anybody who wants to share something or ask something, let's start. Uh, can we have somebody to take the? You want to share or you want to take the mic? You want to take the mic? Thank you. So there, somebody's there. So a total of 3 questions now, and then we'll go for lunch. And post lunch, we can of course talk over the lunch, and we'll take it from there.
A very good afternoon, first of all,
Very
and
good.
I get privileged for giving me this opportunity to share my views. Actually, this is not my question. I just want to add of what I have thought regarding teaching as a profession. As I'm a teacher from education department, and we deal always with the students, with the teaching and the learning process only. And first of all, I just want to speak one of the definition defined by Swami Vivekananda regarding education. That education.
Ma'am, can I please? I'm so sorry. I'm interjecting here. I'm so sorry. We are actually on a schedule. I would love to invite you for a complete, sharing of the thoughts later. But just focusing on the questions. We have time for 3 questions.
Actually, I'm
ma'am.
coming to the point only because
go
he
there.
was talking about manifestation of divine perfection, which is already in the individual.
Right.
And it is the role of the teacher to manifest that divine perfection, which is already in the very individual. And that very individual is the every child present in a classroom.
Absolutely.
And that is why the ideal teacher, they should, besides the teaching professional zipper standards, the teacher should always know how to identify the potentialities of every child. Unless and until the teacher is not able to identify the innate potentialities of the child, we cannot say that the teacher is the ideal teacher. And
Absolutely.
another one, just with your due permission,
Sure.
the high expectations should be kept from the teacher towards the students. Many of the students have shared along with us that earlier they had the weakness of speaking or weakness or presenting something or related to different criteria. But just because somewhere, someday, some great teachers have given that hope, that given the confidence in the students, they have come up now today. They could able to speak, they could able to
Right.
have the love for English, love for mathematics, and love for science.
Right.
And it is only possible because of the teachers. And besides, that is why I have just stood up and taken this time for you,
Absolutely.
from you, sir, that as a teacher, besides all the standards, besides all the competence, as a teacher, the teacher personally should have a patient, a very high patient, which my friend already have already mentioned, have a passion for teaching, and along with that, high expectation from the teachers, and they should know how to connect with the students to identify the innate potentialities
Can
of
I
the child.
add
Thank
something
you
to
so
that?
much.
I'll just address what you mentioned. In fact, very
Yes.
important points, both
Yes.
of them, including every student in the class, and having high expectation of the learners.
Yes.
You'd be very happy to know, and I should see the smile on your face once I tell you this.
Okay.
Both of
Yes.
these points are a part of the National Professional Standards of Teachers.
Yes, I have seen it.
Both
I
of
have
them.
been going through. Yes.
High expectations from teachers for the students is standard 3, first domain, first subdomain.
Yes,
Learning
sir.
experiences, you'll find teachers should have high experiences, high expectations from the learners. So we are looking to a very progressive document, and
Yes, sir.
I would require your support, all of our supports to make this document a success. So we should be really looking at the document again and again and sharing our feedback. And thank you so much for sharing
Yeah,
your
thank you
thoughts.
so
Really
much.
appreciate that. So, question number 2. Comment or question? Okay. Dr. Kalam said backbenchers make the nation. We have to ask, listen to you.
I teach economics in Guwahati Commerce College, and what I have observed that we are talking about the quality, but quality and quantity cannot go at a time. And that is the real situation in the colleges particularly. Say this year we have admitted 800 students in degree first year. So Professor Utpal has said about use of ICT. We are expert in ICT. Our 80% teachers have PhD ICT expertise, but the problem is that the timetable routine is so tight that we have no time to go for use of the ICT, particularly in the general colleges.
Right.
That is one. Then that what Manoj has said, that is the right and reality, that there is a defect in the system of selection of the teacher. And I'm a teacher by choice. But if some people are coming to the teaching profession by chance and by the default of the system, that cannot be repaired. And so there should be a harsh steps to improve the situation. And there are some things that what we cannot disclose in a public meeting.
Right.
So I will not explain. So thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. No, wait. Now I want a question, not a comment. Is it a question or a comment?
It's a question, sir.
Question. Good. Thank you.
Regarding the ICT classroom and other infrastructure, we are thinking about evaluation of student, evaluation of teachers, but we are not thinking of evaluation of infrastructure and ICT and teaching aids.
Right.
I think this should be included in the pattern, whatever is made, and ICT classrooms and smart classrooms should be provided with.
Absolutely.
Because
Completely agree with you.
in present situation, students are very much adapted to the ICT parts. So if we say something out of ICT aids, there cannot be so much.
So what's your question?
My question is, infrastructure should be evaluated in every part of schooling to universities. That is, infrastructure should be developed properly.
But that's a comment. What's your question?
Sir,
You see, that's cheating. Are you a teacher or a cheater?
no, sir.
Just kidding. Thank you so much for participating. Let's go to the next person, please.
Can I have my say, please?
Can we come here, please? Sir, please. We'll start with you and then we'll go ahead.
A lot of concern has been expressed about teachers not meeting the expectations. Now, I would like to know if the NPST has any scheme whereby the aptitude of a teacher is going to be judged before entry into the profession.
Thank you so
Because
much.
then maybe we can have a lot of...
That's a wonderful question, sir. There's an entire system being devised on entry criteria for somebody to enter the profession, right? Well, one such system is already there. We, as NCT, are already looking at improving the efficiency of that system, which is called Teacher Eligibility Test today. But then, other than that, for every stage of the teacher's career progression, there are going to be different form of assessments and evaluations so that we have the right teachers in the profession, and only the right teachers are able to move ahead. So that is all a part of this document and the plan of implementation. The major role of National Center for Teacher Quality, NCTQ, is going to be to make sure that quality professionals are entering the teaching profession and their quality is maintained as they move ahead. So I hope that I answer your question.
Good afternoon, sir.
We'll say a last question.
Good afternoon, sir. Good
Hi.
afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Just before you go, Professor Sangeeta is saying that you can take the question, but then they'll get cold food. So it's your choice, actually. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I gave them a option.
Sir, NSPT main aim and objective is to produce quality teachers. So without the sufficient number of teacher educational training institute, how it is possible and how it will be achieved? Is there any suggestion from NEP?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for asking that question. And you see, these are all the questions that are running in our mind, not from today, but from when NEP 2020 was launched, that what will be the implementation plan, right? A lot of documents come and go, but what is the implementation? What we're talking about here in case of NPST is since we have the skill set and competencies defined now, we're going to work on identifying the right training institutions who would be given a curriculum to implement these training programs for every stage of teaching, teaching career, every stage of their progression. When a teacher moves from a proficient teacher to an expert teacher, what exactly have to be have they have to be trained on and how they have to be